Kevin here, the Maestro of Maroon Medicine, back today with the top 5. I'm doing a top 5 on examples of left-wing hypocrisy. And before I go into that, I want to talk about projection, because this is a theme that you see throughout this list. And projection is a technique that was honed by Saul Alinsky back in the 60s and 70s. And he wrote about in his book, Rules for Radicals. He said, you got to always go out and accuse your opponents of your own faults and really criticize your adversaries for those things that are problems you've created. So you're going to see that here in this list, and I'll go ahead and start. Number 5 is rape culture. Guys, rape cultures do exist. There are rape cultures out there in the world, the majority of those being in predominantly Muslim, Middle Eastern countries. In America, rapes are down. Now, when you look at the 2016 statistics on crimes, it goes like this. African Americans commit the most rape, followed by Hispanics, then white Americans, then Asians. Now, when you look at that list, there are areas where there are higher rapes, and that's like inner cities, but these demographics do not reflect the right, and to always accuse the right of promoting rape culture is ridiculous, especially when the same people accusing the right of promoting rape culture are the people in Hollywood who live in an actual rape culture and create a rape culture. When you look at stuff like Harvey Weinstein and things like that that are becoming exposed every day now, you see there is a rape culture, but it's in those areas, these left-wing bubbles like Hollywood and like the print media, New York Times, things like that. So, you know, these people who complain about it are the creators and progenitors of rape culture. And they're the same people who want to import people from those countries where the rape statistics are indeed the highest. So I'll go on to number 4. Number 4 is hate and racism. Guys, how many times I've been called racist by left-wingers, I can't even tell you, but it's a lot. And I have a family that is mixed race. My wife is an immigrant. This is projection. And I've never seen anything more racist than a left-winger when they find out that my wife, who's Hispanic, is a Republican and a Trump supporter. You know, we see this with people like Ben Carson on the right. When they find out that Ben Carson, a black man, is a conservative, they call him a coon and Uncle Tom and try to beat him up. And the racism thing is really hypocritical, considering that the left was the part, or the Democrats were the party of the KKK. And the people who try to call people racist now, people like Hillary Clinton, you know, this woman was waving a rebel flag back in the 90s during her husband's first campaign speech. Her mentor was KKK Grand Wizard Robert Byrd, and you don't see the left trying to take down statues of Robert Byrd out there. Now, there are racists on the right. I'm not going to say there aren't. There's people like the alt-right and Richard Spencer. Now, they want a white separatist state, but they're not out there committing racial violence, at least not the leaders of these movements. You saw stuff like Charlottesville, and you could say Charlottesville was the left's 9/11. They talk about it constantly. But when you look at the nationalist groups based on race, there's far more racial nationalist groups on the left than there are on the right. And even an event like Charlottesville only had 1,000 people or so, and they came from all over the world. So when you're talking about, you know, 100-something million people on the political right, the idea that they're all racist, it's a lie and a myth. And the media always tries to focus on this very, very small minority of white separatists on the right or who vote Republican. And when you look at their ideology does not fit in with the right-wing political ideology at all. They just vote on the right because they are anti-immigration or something like that. But the rest of their ideology is big government, welfare state for whites, and they have no place in the right-wing's vision of America, and I have no place in their vision for America because of my mixed-race family, and I want nothing to do with them. And so we disavow them, and the left, when we see them come out with all these anti-white things, you know, it does make people feel divided on racial lines. But all this is coming from people who obsess over race all the time. Meanwhile, when you look at people like me, middle-class, suburban Republicans and rural people who vote Republican, they're not obsessing over race. They don't care. You know, I don't bring up my family's racial makeup anytime just, you know, to obsess over it. I bring it up when these people accuse me of being racist and I have to defend myself. But otherwise, I could care less. I don't want my kids to be told that they are not capable of making it because of some invisible oppression, when my children have every opportunity to make it. And that's the big hypocrisy of it all. The left want equal outcome, but they do not want equal opportunity. They are very much against equal opportunity. They want equal outcomes, and that is racist in itself. So number 3, feminism. Feminism is a big lie, guys. Feminism is anti-male. It's not about equality. Maybe back in the 1920s and 30s, feminism was about equality, but nowadays it's become a way for women to really attack the patriarchy. And it's hypocritical because these same women who attack men and the men's position in our society are the same people who want to import males from other countries where there is an actual patriarchal tyranny, like these Middle Eastern countries. So, you know, this is the hypocrisy of this. Obviously, Republican men, we love our wives, we love our women, we treat them with respect. On the left, not so much. When you look at actual statistics on this, the demographics of the left are far more likely to abuse their spouses, are far more likely to pay their women workers less. And again, the statistics do not match up to what the left are saying, and they're projecting their own problems onto us. Now, number 2 are guns. Gun control is a big issue for me. I love my guns. I do not want more limits on my Second Amendment rights. Now, the left commit most of the crime in America. When you look at demographics, Democrat voters commit way more crimes. When you look at the stats on convicted felons and violent criminals, the majority of them are registered as Democrats. So it's not people like me. It's not suburban Republicans who are responsible gun owners or rural people who go out and hunt. That's not the people committing the crimes. And our rights should not be limited. Sure, there are examples like this shooting in Vegas where the guy owned a bunch of guns and had never committed crimes before. But the majority of gun crimes are committed by people who have a long-standing criminal record. There are accidental deaths, but the highest crime areas are all Democrat-run. And I've said many times, if the Democrats want my guns, first they better go disarm all the people in the inner cities. But they will never do that. Whenever we have a mass shooting, the hypocrisy is so blatant. They go out and try to ban guns and blame every gun owner, every responsible NRA member. And the NRA promotes gun safety and responsible firearm usage, but they will not say a thing about the 700, 800 murders that have happened so far this year in Chicago or Detroit. They want to attack the people who commit the least amount of crimes, while at the same time, we see again and again that the left promote gangster culture and they apologize for the people who are committing the most crimes. So guns are a big example of left-wing hypocrisy, and you see the projection too, because the Democrats know this. They know they aren't responsible with guns. We saw the article where the guy went out and shot an AR-15 and said, you know, he could see himself shooting up all these people. That kind of thing, that distrust of themselves is why they want to limit people's rights when it comes to guns. The fact that they know that they want to create a tyrannical government is why they don't want us having any means to oppose that tyrannical government. So it's more projection. Number 1, violence. The left, they are the most violent people around. Not only do you see so much of this violence here in America when it comes to groups like ANTIFA and BAM, which I'll get back to in a second, when you look at the statistics, socially and throughout history, the Democrats are the leftists, communists, socialists, all these different groups have always committed more violent crimes. And when you look at groups like socialism and communism, or ideologies like socialism and communism, these ideologies are responsible for millions, hundreds of millions of deaths, more deaths than all the wars of the world combined. So when you look at things like Mao in China or the Bolshevik Revolution, then followed by Lenin and Stalin, they killed millions and millions of their own people through democide. That's not even including wars that they started. That's just governments killing opposition to their leftist government. So the left have this long history of violence, going back to the Democrats during the KKK days, and even way before that, you know, when you had the unions using violent means to try to coerce business owners. It's just a long history of violence from the left. But the left love to try to accuse the right of violence. And like I said, the events in Charlottesville were really the left's 9/11, because then they could go say, oh, well, the right wing's so violent. And this is the example of their violent hatred and racism. But like I said, the people on the right in Charlottesville, that alt-right section of the right, we disavow them. They are a very small minority. But when you look at violent crime in general, and you see things like these guys on TV promoting violence towards people on the right, the media apologizing for groups like Antifa. And Antifa, there's thousands of videos on YouTube of groups like BAM, Antifa, going out and beating up people they oppose, innocent people who did nothing to antagonize them or to elicit that violent response. Guys, there's videos of Antifa beating up grandmas and older men. There's videos of them, pouring pee and assaulting people in wheelchairs. There's videos of, recently in Berkeley, the left beat up a man and his son, and they beat up his son in front of this father. That is so despicable. That is so disgusting. And that's one example, but there's so many of these examples. And then when you see the media, they try to project that onto the right. When you see things like this one guy at one Trump rally who punched one of these protesters. Sure, that was uncalled for, but that is not representative of the majority of the right. But when you look at the majority of the left in these videos of Antifa out there, destroying a city, or you see BLM rioting and destroying Baltimore, that is majority of BLM. That is the whole of BLM in that city taking part in violence and destruction of property. So the hate and violence accusation from the left is probably the biggest example of hypocrisy and projection we see from them. And so we need to start calling this out, and we need to shut them down when they try to use these arguments against us. Call out the hypocrisy. Explain this to your friends. And like I said, go out there and red pill people. This is how we fight back. This is how we win. On one last note, the violence thing. The left have this thing planned for November 4th. I've talked about it in other videos. Like and subscribe, and I'll continue to talk about it. But how hypocritical is that? They want to actually overthrow the government. Their whole ideology is based in violence because it's a revolutionary ideology based in conflict theory. So, we need to bring this up. We need to expose this before that day comes. And share my videos, like and subscribe. I'm out.